Well, let's talk about the fleshing machine. Right here we have a Dakota fleshing machine. A little bit unstable here, but I think we can get by for right now because I just want to talk about it. Show you a few things on adjusting the machine itself. Now, on all fleshing machines, they're basically more or less about the same thing. What we have here is a spinning blade. It's called a fleshing blade. It's a flat blade with a lip on it like this that goes around, spins. You pull the skin across here. Of course, you've got this up. You're right here. Everything's adjusted for you. Each person has their own way of doing things, and once you get into your own little methodology that you have, that you make for yourself, you're going to adjust things differently. So what works for one person, you can take an idea from them, put it together with your stuff, and it works just fine. So you find what works for you and you experiment. So what you do when this blade is spinning, like I said, it's a curved lip blade, spins. You pull your skin across, and that blade, remember now, it's curved, that lip that's hanging out like that, you pull the skin across, it cuts into that skin and shaves it. This is really great for taking fat off of bear hides, which I'll cut to a different video a little bit later, and you'll see me actually pulling the bear hide across and cutting the fat out. Now once you get all that done, everything's cleaned up, then you can actually come back to the skin itself and thin it. A little bit more detail involved there because you have to pay attention so you don't cut the skin. So what we're talking about here is a typical fleshing machine. These are blade guards to keep you from binding the blade, cutting in too long, because you have to have these guards up. These guards are adjusted for the depth of the cut. So normally these blade guards would be about 3/32 of an inch away from the blade itself. Thusly, because that way when you pull the skin across and you have a little bit too deep of a cut, that skin won't come down in here and get clogged up into the belt and into the blade itself. So that's why you keep these a little bit closer. Now I've found it works better for me to keep them a little bit further apart. Now there's all kinds of adjustments. You can adjust the angle of these blade guards. Go in here. How close you want these here. Allen wrench. Adjust these closer. Incidentally, this is the Van Dyke's Dakota flesher. And the pitch, the angle, just about everything on this machine is pretty good. Now the belt comes up around here to the blade itself. It's bolted on. You got your hub. Comes down to the motor. Of course, the table. Now, let me show you something here. Now, you're looking at this blade and you're going, man, it's a little rusty. Well, yeah, because when we do fleshing, we're fleshing on acid bath skins, pickled skins, and that takes its toll on metal. Doesn't make any difference if it's stainless steel or what. You have to work to keep your machine clean stuff. Just sitting around, this thing will get rusty up in here in the blade area. So what do you want to do to clean that up? Make sure that's clean and sharp again. Well, first of all, again, this is a blade, called a fleshing blade. It's got a lip on it. That lip is usually razor sharp. But a lot of people, when they get it back from being turned and sharpened, that's the terminology, you turn the blade, get it sharpened. And what the deal is, it's so sharp, you get up there doing your thing, your experienced flesher, and all of a sudden you got a hole in it, like, oh geez. There are some people, they actually go back and dull the blade. Or they go ahead and they get into the meticulous arrangement and adjustment of these blade guards. So, keep all that short and simple. Okay, let's quickly go through this, the blade adjustment that you need to properly flesh or shave a skin. Now you're standing behind the machine. This is your left side, this is your right side. These are the blade guards. The blade guard on your right side, adjust that even with the blade. The guard on your left side, pull that back a little bit to about 3/16 to 1/8 of an inch of the blade is exposed on this side. So your cutting edge would be from about here on down. That way when you pull your skin across, it shaves. That will get you by in the beginning, and then you can fine tune it to your specifics. But notice all the adjustments. Some machines are different. As a matter of fact, quite a few machines are going to be different. Depends upon where you buy your machine. You adjust the guards front or back to expose or cover more blade. You adjust the guards inward by loosening up the set screws on this specific Dakota machine. Other machines are going to be a little different, but you can pick it up pretty easy depending upon what machine you buy. But initially, this guard is even with the blade. This guard, the left guard, should be back about 3/16 to 1/8 of an inch, exposing that part of the blade. That way when you pull your skin across, and then you adjust it accordingly, and then you determine up here how much of that lip you want to bend up. You don't want to bend it up too much. You don't want it too aggressive. It looks like it'd be what, about 60? And you may even have to push it down a little bit more. So that's how you do it. That's the secret right there. And the biggest secret is you have to get your experience and adjust what works for you. You have your machine. Now you always want to consider wearing goggles. Some people use those steel fishnet type gloves, but you know, you have to be reasonable here. I mean, my hands have been cut, and so you have to remember this is a professional machine. It's not a toy. It's nothing you can mess around with. So goggles, maybe you want those gloves on, but always, again, I talked about this different videos. The gloves just kind of mess with me where I can't do my work properly. But then again too, I've had my fingers cut because I was careless. So you have to be careful with all of this here, and take your time. Now, just to judge if anything is sharp when it comes to this, remember that curved blade? Now, obviously you want to make sure everything's off. It's unplugged. Take your finger, you hold it out straight right across that blade. Don't put a lot of pressure on it, just a little bit, especially if it's razor sharp. You're going to find out. So you just pull it across, and that blade should be catching my finger a little bit. So we can see here that that blade lip is down a little bit too far. You want that blade lip up again just a little bit where it shaved. As you pull the skin across, it'll catch that skin and cut it. Now you can't have the lip stick out too much because it will cut way too deep. So everything has to be adjusted, and you have to get used to it. You have to practice with the machine. And I'll show you how to do that. Now this is rust on here. I'm going to show you how to clean up all that real quick and easy. Now let me turn this on. Now, I have a little nylon bushing in here on my machine because that's something that I want. There's been times where I've put so much pressure on this machine before where I've actually forced that hub and everything over up against here, and it was working against me. So I had to stop taking such a deep cut and be a little bit more safety conscious. But just to make sure, I have this thing adjusted just for me. Now, since I have this open, most dangerous right now, so you have to be real careful about that. Now, we go over here, piece of sandpaper, fine grit. 220 grit, 120, right around there. Notice the rust. Now, if you got a lot of rust on you, you have to be careful. Don't inhale the rust. What I'm doing right here, I'm going back and forth. Now remember, this is supposed to be razor sharp, so you don't want to wave back and forth or go like that. See that? Well, what am I doing here? I'm taking the rust off here, kind of tuning up the blade a little bit. We'll get more into that in a little bit. Now here, I can get bigger pieces of sandpaper. Come down the blade like this if you want. Get all that cleaned up. Get all that cleaned up. See how that works? I'm going to come up here and get this. Now, turn this off so you can hear me a little bit better. Now, one thing I want to talk about here, they have what's on the market called tuning steels. It's a piece of wood with some carbon steel in it. And that's what you use to stick underneath this blade lip and bring it up a little bit or make it go down a little bit. I'm going to tell you something. For two little pieces of wood with a little bit of carbon steel sticking out of each end, right now I can look in a manufacturer's catalog, I won't say who it is, but they want $27 and some odd cents just for that little bit of stuff. Now I'm going to tell you something here to save money on. Now this is how you save money. Right here. This is a stainless steel upholster's pin. You can do the same thing with that. Not quite as good with the carbon steel because that's a little bit different. It bites in there a little bit differently, but this will work. And what? You get a gross of these for about $12 or something. Of course, you use them in taxidermy work to pin the skin, to adjust the skin, whatever. But you can also use it on your fleshing machine lip. It's worked for me for years. Now, I know a lot of people screaming, you can't do that, you can't do that. Well, yes, I can. I've done it. It works fine. Okay, so I'm just trying to help you save money here. Now, what you do here, you want to bring this up. You just put light pressure on it, tilt it up, and you can bring that lip up. Or if you want to put it down, you can put it down. Usually once you get it at the right angle, it'll work perfectly for you, so you don't want to keep coming back and doing it. That's why I bring in the use of sandpaper and such. So you can adjust that angle of the blade, and you can tell by the cut on your skin what's going on. Now let me see. Let me go ahead and test this here. See if I brought that up a little bit. Just that little bit of pressure on there. I didn't have to put a lot of pressure. It works fine. I want to make sure it stops. I don't want to cut my finger. I've had some pretty nasty cuts over the years. These are working hands, let me tell you. Okay, we've stopped. Now, remember what I told you? Straight finger. It could come up a little bit more, but I'm going to sharpen it too. Now here's another way you can sharpen it. Usually when you sharpen anything like this, you send it in to the manufacturer or whoever the regrinding service is. They grind it flat and sharp, and then they bend that metal back over to that lip that you need. I usually like a wide lip on here. This here isn't as wide a lip as I usually like, so I need to get another blade that I like. I usually keep about 4 blades with me at all times, sharp and ready to go. Now, you take a whetstone, you break it up into little pieces. Now you got to be careful with this. If you slip, you could hurt yourself and cut yourself. I take some chances, but I'm kind of used to it, so I'm real cautious, okay? because a lot of people, they don't mess with it, they don't have the time to fool with it, so they'll just send the blade back in, get it reground. But I've found I usually get about 4 times the amount of life out of the blade before I have to send it in, get it reground by doing these techniques myself. There's going to be some sparks flying a little bit usually, so what I'm doing, I'm going to, remember that blade's spinning. Remember? It's spinning. I'm going to work this, now spin right here. Up underneath that blade, sharpen that edge on that steel. Okay? The blade's turning. All I got to do is hold it there. Don't get carried away with the pressure, because if it breaks and you go into it, believe me, it's going to hurt. Yes, I know somebody saying that's really dangerous. It works if you're careful. Pull this up a little bit more. Put a little bit more pressure on there. And I'll come back just in case there's any burrs. I'll tell you what, I've had these blades sharp enough to shave off of. Let's check that one more time. Now, here's a little tip for you. Once you got your blade all cleaned up and you're shutting it down for the day, get some PAM, spray the PAM on there. You know what that is, cooking spray. Or you can spray it with WD-40, a couple squirts of that. Just depends upon what your preference is. Let's see how sharp that is. Now that's off. Yeah, it's stopping my finger. That's what I want. I want that proper angle. And again, this is adjusted for me. You have to adjust it yourself. Get used to it. You have to practice. So when you first get one of these, get a scrap skin, old deer skin or something that you no projects that you have to worry about. Run it through the acid bath pickle solution. What an acid bath pickle solution does, it closes the pores around the hair follicles. It swells the skin, it plumps it, so you can shave it. And you pull it across. That's why a lot of times these things here build up so much rust, because of that acid pickle bath that the skins are in, that you have to go ahead and shave the skin thinner once you flesh it, of course. There's different ways to flesh it, from a beam to doing it by hand to a draw knife to whatever. And you can do it everything right here in one of these. These things here usually sell for around $1,000, a little bit less, a whole lot more. It depends upon who you go with. This one here has been good for me. Alright, well basically that's how you adjust a machine, a fleshing machine. You got to get to know it, you got to use it, you got to find out what works for you and what doesn't. You take an idea from me, take an idea from other people, you put it together with what works for you. What do you got? You have a new method that works for you. It's customized for you. I just want to show everybody, had that blade all cleaned up. Look how that glistens off the sun. So if it gets a little rusty, don't worry about it. It's an actual professional machine. See that? We got it all cleaned up. It's all ready to go. And believe me, that puppy's sharp. Now, I'm going to cut her down. Instead of spraying PAM on it, I'm just going to go ahead and use WD-40. All in all, I think PAM's a little bit more expensive than this, but it works. Spray a little bit there. Now if it goes across your machine, that's okay. Now, if you put this back up a little bit, spray the other side. Now ideally, what we'd do, we'd go ahead and spray that while the thing's turning a little bit, but I just wanted to show you that. You want to step back a little bit with the camera, please? If I turn this on, because the rest of this here is going to come shooting out of there. There, see that? So we just turn that off. There you go. Now here, squirt, squirt. You're done. Blade's ready to go, ready to be stored, whatever. Wipe that extra WD-40 off. That's how it looks right there. I just had to show that to you because that was rusty. Not anymore. Right here, all that fat, watch this. Pull it across, comes out clean. You gotta work quickly. You do this the old-fashioned way with a beam and knife if you're in the woods, but modern fleshing machine, it's excellent. I highly recommend you learn how to use one. It costs around $1,000 or more. Some of the prices are ridiculous. They want a lot more than that, but I want to show you. See how nice that is? And the fat obviously comes off, goes down through there, but put it in the side bag or whatever you got present there. Clean that up afterward. What we need to do here is just get it clean. Notice how nice that's coming out. What I'll do after this bear skin is thoroughly fleshed, I'm going to wash it in a real strong soap. Just like Dawn dish soap. That's available to just about everybody, but it works. You don't need to buy some commercial company's high-priced cleaning product. Dawn dish soap, and I don't own any other factory. It works. Or if you have another soap that's a good degreaser, that'll work too. But that's what I want to do. Once this is clean, it's all nice like that. Then I'm going to wash it, clean it up, drain it, then I'm going to salt it. Obviously, we've already taken out all of the paws, turned the toes to the last joint, taking that out. Where's the head on this puppy? There you go. Ears have been turned, lips split, nose been turned. But once we go ahead and get everything fleshed, then we're going to go ahead and wash it and then salt it. That's very important, the salting process. But you got to get it clean. See that little bit of fat and stuff right here? That's got to be taken off. As you can see, it's coming right off. With this machine, you got to be careful. You can't go any further than the blue, because if you cut the hair roots, the hair is going to fall out. That's something you got to be careful with. Just get it fleshed and get it done. That's pretty clean. And you can do it. Watch this. Warm it up, take a nice little swatch, right there. Just keep doing that all over the skin. Get it clean. And some people like to take long stretches. I do that for shaving maybe, but for the fleshing part, you want to take short strokes on this. Make sure you got it. Make sure you don't go too deep. Just enough to be even with the skin, get off all the flesh and meat. continue doing this over the whole hide. I've already done some, obviously. But I'm going to get that clean, wash it, then I'm going to go ahead and salt it.